Дарабарым, менятым Kseniia Bolshakova, Тамиртан хылдер хагабын. Аны меня хека төрябит тывым тунан кепси. Здравствуйте, меня зовут Kseniia.
Hello, I'm Kseniia Bolshakova, and now I will tell you about my native tongue, Dolgan. Dolgan is a small indigenous people of Russia living in the north of Krasnoyarsk Krai, Taimyr Peninsula. Also, a small group of Dolgans, they're called Anabar. Dolgans, they live in Sakha-Yakutia. There are no more than 8,000 people who belong to Dolgan nationality. According to the census of 2010, the number of native speakers was 1,000 people. In fact, the number is much lower. The people who speak Dolgan language are no more than 700. The language is used by our grandmothers and grandfathers, maybe my parents, but people of my generation speak Dolgan language in exceptional cases. And of course, people younger than me, my younger brothers and sisters, siblings, do not speak my language. I am from a small settlement, Pobigai and Sindaska, the most Dolgan-talking settlements. That's what I mean by the most talking, that people who live there, the settlers, can speak, are able to speak Dolgan between themselves. But in other villages and settlements, people do not speak Dolgan language. They switch to Russian, they speak Russian to their children, and between themselves, they also communicate in the Russian language. If we look at the map, on the north, we see Podebigai, Sindaska villages. This is the lower part of the Khatanga River. These are the East Dolgans. But if we look at Taimyr Peninsula, this will be West Dolgans. They live in Volochanka and Hita. Here we can also see the villages inhabited by Anabar Dolgans. We also see that we are quite close to these settlements, Seskalak, for instance. So people from my village, when we have snow, we go to these villages, Uyurunkhaya and Seskalak, for food and basic necessities. The Republic of Sakha-Yakutia is so close to our settlements. Is very good for us. It is reflected in our name. We call ourselves Khaka, the East Dolgans. And you can see that Sakha of Yakutia and Khaka is closer to Dolgan. This is slight pronunciation differences. This is also reflected in our language, in the words we use. So we say hulus. In Yakut, it's sulus, and it means the star. The West Dolgans are farther from the Republic of Sakha-Yakutia, and they call themselves tundra people. they they call their language in a very descriptive way. They say, I speak the tundra language. Dolgans originate from Evenki. This is indigenous people of Siberia. They are present in 9 regions of Russia. And if we translate the name Dolgan to Evenkiyski, it will mean the person who lives in the middle. Many small indigenous peoples of Russia had their alphabet based on Latin. In 1930s, they were all switched to Cyrillic alphabet. My people and my language did not have this. We are the youngest people of Russia. We were established as a people only in the 19th century, in the middle of the century. So Dolgan language is the northern Turkic language of the world, and hence our alphabet is based initially on Cyrillics. This is the alphabet of the Russian language, and here we can see the difference between the Russian and Dolgan language. Some of the books are not present in the Russian alphabet, but for instance, some letters are used in the words in the Russian of Russian origin in Dolgan language, but we have our own letters, 2 consonants and 2 vowels, sonants. We have 3 sounds N. The first one, when we touch the tongue with the tongue, the front of our mouth, the second is in the middle, and the third is in the far. It is also interesting to look at the doubling of the letters. In Dolgan language, we have 4 diphthongs. These are 2 vowels that generate one common sound. We have 4 of them. To use a particular diphthong, it depends on what vowel stands in front of diphthong. So the front-standing vowel suggests what will be the following diphthong.
Диктует нам дифтонг О, товарох, и хюрех. Ü диктует нам, что нужно использовать дифтонг Ü.
So the previous letter dictates the diphthong following it. This is called the harmony of the vowels. It applies not only to the usage of diphthongs, but the usage of other vowels in a word. So there is a coordination in the usage of vowels in the words. And here we can see one suffix which goes after the hyphen with a little bit difference in pronunciation. This we call the harmony of vowels.
То есть говорит нам использовать «ü». То есть если мы не можем при слове глаголе...
We cannot mispronounce the word because of the harmony of the vowels. Also, on this slide, we can see a chum. This is a traditional housing of Dolgans. It's a tent which is built on the, we take long sticks to build cones covered with this deer skin. But nowadays, Dolgans do not use this chums. We are using now balok. This is a house on the wheels, but there are no wheels. It's the house on the sledge. But we are nomads, and that's why it is not easy for us to move from one place to another. And these solve the problem of moving the house, the home, from one place to another. Also, in Dolgan language, we have the length of sound, and it makes sense, and it changes the meaning of the word. So if we use one vowel or two vowels, and this changes the meaning of the word. Long and short vowels. As we see in the alphabet, this is a doubling of the same letter. You can see two vowels, the same vowels following each other together. We belong to a Turkic language family. It is the northern Turkic language, and we are the northern Turkic people. On this table, we can see our relative connections to Turkish, Tatar, Kazakh, Altai, and Karachevo-Balkar language. We really belong to the same family. For instance, the moon is pronounced approximately the same. Wolf is also, not to mention salt. Despite this fact, it may seem as we are the most northern people, alongside with the Yakut language, I can easily understand Yakut language, and we use a mixture of these languages to communicate. But our brothers who live to the south, with them we have more difficulty to understand each other. But between themselves, they have no problems to communicate. So Tatar or Kazakh languages, they can easily communicate, while I can understand just a few words of the Kazakh language.
Про который я говорила. Это фотография с кочевья, это когда меняют местоположение, местонахождение. То есть
here we can see a picture in transition. We cannot possibly stand still for over 5 days in winter, over 3 days in summertime, because the deer need fodder. If you stand still over a certain location, no vegetation will grow any longer. That is, it means that next year you will no longer able to visit the same location because there will be no photo. In the Dolgan language, the vocabulary originates from various languages, the Tunguska, Turkic, the Mongolian, and Russian languages respectively. You can see that in the slide. You can see the language in the Dolgan. Cheleke comes from the Evenki language. Urum from the Yakut language. Manat from the Mongolian languages. And it all means white. And it goes further on. Urun, Manan, Chibrkai means temple. And finally, you can see the butterfly, Lurue, from the Evenki language. Urumchi from the Mongolian languages. And Babachka, which is a borrowing from Russian proper. How are you associated with Mongol languages, you may ask? The matter is, when the Yakut people lived a bit further to the south, they interacted with these languages. When they started moving, as nomads would do, to the north, they brought the vocabulary used in those locations they lived in. The word taba translates in Dolgan as deer, and it means camel from Mongol languages. When they lived there and interacted with Mongol languages, there were no deer, but there were some camels. When they populated northern areas, there were no longer any camels, but they did see some deer. Therefore, taba stands for deer, tihi stands for female deer, kugun stands for ox. This applies equally to camel. Taba can be camel, tihi can be a female camel, tugut is a camel, young camel, and so on and so forth. But despite that all, even though tobacco originates from Mongol language, the main deer farming vocabulary comes from the Evenki language. Riding, deer, bugudi. We can see when you make the transition from the Evenki to Dolgan, the words actually adapt to the Dolgan language. Borom stands for grey, fur. Eldun is the roof of a chum. Lavikta, moss. Mavot, lasso. Aktami, to castrate. If we speak of this skin color, and specifically multicolored shades of it, Uguchak stands for riding deer. This also applies to utensils, like the cap, the roof of the chum, or lasso. But in the Dolgan language, Evenki borrowings exist not only in the Evenki language, but in regular use. Ataki, spider, leru, butterfly, degmekte, mushroom, bali, blind. We can also see that words adapt to the Dolgan language. We can also see words that actually change their meaning as they were borrowed. Patronymic sense. Goyevun stands for wounded animal. Goyebun stands, while in Dolgan, for limb. Bula stands for swamp. Beles in Dolgan stands for dirt. Drama stands for lower back in Dolganski. There is a major stratum of Russian borrowings in the Dolgan language. For instance, you can actually see this. Hibiti stands for flower, kurka stands for jacket or coat, kopta for sweater, biek stands for century. The Russian proper is vek, century, but for us it means always. Eso, also, urukka. You might think that this is wrist or hand, but this is actually gauntlets. Herkele. Valuable, expensive, which is a borrowing from Russian, derives from expensive and valuable. Here you can see an elderly man from my village. He has a very unique, rare set of deer hind clothes. It's a very rare case to see deer with fully white fur. These are considered to be holy deer. This is the farming day. It's a traditional holiday celebrated annually in April. This holiday brings together people from different villages. They compete in reindeer sleigh races. While we used to have plenty of people who could participate in such celebrations and compete in such a contest, unfortunately, today we have very few people attending such celebrations. Why so? A lot of people no longer lead a nomadic lifestyle. Why so? Because it's very challenging. You have to be far away from civilized areas. Once a year you travel to a nearby village to purchase food, to make some stock of food you will be consuming over a long time period. Now it's gradually dying down. It becomes less popular in some areas. They virtually no longer practice the farming. Normally, the Dolgan people have the following traditional households and livelihoods: deer farming, hunting, fishery. Mushroom and berry collection. Under ice, fishing. We set nets in wintertime. Fishing nets. The Dolgan vocabulary has a pretty large stratum of two-letter words. Is, drink, is, throw away, us, food, hair, os, recover, us, three, at, meat, it, dog, at, horse, ot, weed, ut, push. It may seem that all words are pretty short, but we have pretty long ones, like elatinalar. It's an entire sentence. They're making a gift, all put in a single word. We have plenty of short words. The language is still alive. It's not a major problem to learn it, unlike the Italian language, where the words are pretty long, while we have short words, two-letter, three-letter words. The Dolgan language has very peculiar moods of verbs, which are not existent in the Russian language, for instance. A mood that indicates a regular action. I normally give him 100 rubles. A mood for need. I have to give you 100 rubles. Obvious nature. Of course, I gave him 100 rubles. Warning. You shouldn't have given him 100 rubles. And even two imperatives. Near imperative and the remote imperative. Give me 100 rubles. That is, give me this amount right now. And the second one, give me 100 rubles, but later, not now. This is a remote imperative mood. Negation. Well, in Russian, we can use the negative particle ne, not, I don't know, I do not know. In the Dolgan language, we use a special suffix and its variations. Bilbep, I don't know, bilbepin, you don't know, he does know, you don't know, they do not know. The Dolgan language has a very specific property. We can use one single verb, hakavir, he speaks Dolgan. We can say nuchalir, he speaks Russian. Hamadir, he speaks Nganasan. And of course, we can use the declensions as presented. But most interestingly, we also can use declension of nouns. Haka is she is a Dolgan woman. I am a Dolgan woman. You are a Dolgan woman. We are Dolgans. You are Dolgans. And Hakalar, they are Dolgans. The Dolgan language also has impersonal and personal declensions. It features 8 cases. It's more than Russian has, even if you compare it to English, which doesn't have any cases at all. Overall, the Dolgan language is some middle ground in terms of the number of cases. Here we see the declension. If we can say my child with a pronoun my, here we can use the declensions. The main case, impersonal oho, my child, ohom, your child, ohoto, his child. Particular case. Accusative case. The same applies to all the other cases. The Dolgan language features 3 pronouns that determine how far an object is. Russian has this and that, while we have bu, iti, all. Here is the difference. How far the object is. Pusto is the desk next to me. And there is a separate word for another desk which is far away from me in the same room. But there is a third degree which determines an infinitely remote and unknown object. Manna itene onno also operates equally.
разнообразно и ярко выраженные междометия, с помощью которых мы можем показать свои чувства, эмоции. Когда холодно, мы можем сказать чаа, чаката. Когда жарко, атай. Когда мне больно, а я. Побуждаю, че. Жалость, оде. Досада, ара. Грех. Когда я вижу, что кто-то нарушает какие-то запреты или традиции, обычаи нашего народа, я ему скажу они.
Rules of our people are broken. We use these exclamations. And when I feel tickling, I also use exclamations. The colors. As we live in the tundra, our color scale is not as as variable as there is in other languages. Orange and red is the same word. Yellow and a fox are the same, is the same word. And of course, we have special words for blue and green. There are no separate words for blue and green for most languages of the north. Here we have sky blue and grass blue, which is green. On this slide, you can see my photograph. This is a coat for special celebrations.
Также у нас, мы можем заметить, есть пришедший от русских русский платок, которым мы закрываем шею и голову. Дальше мы можем здесь увидеть долганскую одежду уже повседневную. Здесь мой дедушка.
You can see the daily regular clothes. Here is my granddad. He has the intika headgear made of deer hide. This is the regular bergehe hat worn in cities. We also see a scarf tied under the chin. The name is Kseniia. This is the packaging for your chin, if translated literally. And this is the kopo, the parka type men's coat. There is also the hon children's fur coat. Interestingly enough, their hands are completely covered, so that there is no way they can stick their hands out, because it's closed. Why? What makes you blush? I can say this if a friend of mine starts laughing out loud and it's not clear why. If someone annoys me, what's happening? I can say tugu 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 trita. What? This is a young deer's hind. When you are seated at a table and you overindulged with food, so as you ate, you rolled out your eyes and you could no longer see how much you ate. And when you woke up and you can no longer fall asleep, literally means that water came off your eyes. Мой мухата. It says, my neck elongated, lengthened, because I've been waiting for someone for a long time. When I can see that you are deceiving, as person is deceiving someone, when you see some words I can understand the meaning of, I can say abakapse, go tell this story to an wicked spirit. There is a separate verb when it's getting cold in the evening, dibersiyar. Bistibit directly translates as it got torn or torn apart. It also used, but we can use it when a person dies, when his thread of life is cut, so they become deceased. When I see a person who is doing something, who is walking somewhere, following someone, if they actually not need it, I can say ama baha. In this slide, we can see deer racing in a women's competition. We can see the sleigh with deers. Hooray is held in the right hand. This is a long stick up to 4 meters long. And we have a rope in the left hand, which is tied to the lead deer, so that we can direct where the deer goes. Here you can see that we normally have 2 to 3 deers in the traditional Narti sleigh. There are some words really challenging to translate into Russian. Kur is a person who drank some alcohol yesterday and still didn't manage to sober up after the yesterday's drinking. Kolochuk, a person who drank a little and you actually cannot tell whether they drank at all or not. Next up, God's kid, tener goto. We refer to very unskilled kids sitting on their hands. Nutchera, you look like Russian, a Russian. We say so when we refer to people who are not able to do something in the tundra region, or not skilled. Next up, one without a heart. It means a lazy person. Pyrekta, hardworking, who has a heart. Zyq is a very tender person. Nemaska, it means coquette. Tikrayan, inaccurate. When you pour some tea and you spill it, this is what I call you then. When you pay a visit to someone else's home and you pour some tea, you're supposed to fill the cup up to its brink. It shows respect. If you fail to do so, it means that you don't fully respect the person you're dealing with. Unayach is a person who feels up in the clouds, up in the sky, not focused, with poor concentration. When you refer to this person and they pay no attention, they don't notice you at all, this is what you call them. In the same slide, we can see a woman and a man. In the past, parkas would be made of sewing. and of beads, it's a very lengthy process. The front in women's is shorter than the back of this decorative bead element. Back then, we would live in tombs, and women needed that to be able to sit comfortably on their parkas, thus protecting their health. We can also see, actually, cannot see this good enough, well enough, but he's wearing eterbes. This is a traditional Dolgan boots, ankle, actually, these are hip-high boots made of deer hind. This is supposed to be adapted to living in the tundra, and you will never get cold if you wear high boots like these. At times it goes down to -50 centigrade. Actually, speaking of the Dolgan language, we have our famous Agdo Ksenova, who created our Dolgan alphabet. She is a known poet, author of songs, but her prose is not well known. Therefore, the Dolgan language is pretty poor in terms of prose. So therefore, for us, for our kids, for my friends' kids to be able to read stories in our native language, I started writing stories in my mother tongue, my native language. We are deeply saddened by the following situation. The young people, the young parents do not want their kids to learn the Dolgan language because they believe that it will be a barrier in their life instead of being an advantage. If you learn Dolgan, they believe you will not be able to run proper Russian. Therefore, they prefer the official state language of the Russian Federation, Russian, which saddens us quite a lot. Улахан мақтау.
Ичевой дукану, ичевой дуковару, элтиман, начаскан. Спасибо вам за внимание.
Thank you for listening. I hope this presentation provided you an opportunity to come closer to understanding the Dolgan language.